Hey guys, Prangell Gaming here. Welcome back to the Talk the Wall podcast. This is the 34th installment. And before we get right into your responses and any questions you may have had, can I just say, as a bit of a side note, this podcast might be quite long as I'm just trying to get the best balance. We're trying to get it to be around 30 minutes or longer just because that's the normal length of a podcast. Now, back into what I usually say. If you haven't seen any of the other 33 installments, then why not go check them out? There's going to be a link in the description of this video for the last Talk the Wall, or you could access the playlist by clicking the I button. But as always, if you have any questions or opinions, do feel free to put them in the comment section of this video because I want a Millwall voice throughout. And while you're down there, don't forget to put your score predictions for the two games that Millwall have coming up. Obviously, the first one is against Chesterfield tonight, so do specify what game you're predicting for. If you're predicting for both, then that's probably easier if you just do the initials of each team. And then Saturday, we have a game against Oldham Athletic. You might as well tell me your opinions on the games and Millwall as a whole. Do bear in mind, I recorded this on a Monday, so if anything has become outdated or if any new news stories have appeared, then I'll cover them next week in the next Talk the Wall. Let's take a look at your score predictions for the games that Millwall played last week, those being against Port Vale and Leicester City. So we'll start off with the predictions for the game against the Valiants, which, if you didn't know, is Port Vale. Now, a lot of you got the score predictions right for this one. Well, at least that is what it seems. Joe Holloway, Dylan Owen, Mustafa Nur, Liam Gaming 2 and the Veggie Tube all said that the Lions would win 2-0. So for that, I've got to say a huge congratulations to all of you for getting that prediction right. Four of you did unfortunately get the score wrong, with two of you saying you expected the Lions to win 3-0. Those were Lucas Peace and Jadams. Alici thought that Millwall would win by 1 goal, saying that Jed Willis would be the guy to grab the goal, but obviously that wasn't the case. And the final person to predict the scoreline was Conzi P Football, and he said the game would end Millwall 2, Port Vale 1, so he was just 1 goal off with his prediction there. Again, with Leicester City's predictions, a number of you are due congratulations, as Lucas Peace, Mustafa Nur, Joe Conway and the Veggie Tube all saw an FA Cup shock on the cards with the Lions winning 1-0. Lucas added, "Come on you Lions." Not only is it a congratulations for getting the score right, it's also a congratulations as we are in the quarter-finals of the FA Cup, 90 minutes off a trip to Wembley. Just wow. The next closest two with their predictions were Jadams and Dylan Owen, as they predicted the score to end 2-1 to Millwall. Again, two people predicted the same scoreline as Conzi P Football and Joe Holloway thought that there'd be a comfortable 3-1 win for Millwall over the Foxes. Alici was the final person to predict in Millwall's favour, as he said the Lions would win 3-0 with Steve Morrison getting a hat-trick, which, to be fair, would be pretty good, reasonable prediction, to be honest, because he likes to turn up to the cup games, that's for sure. As for someone that predicted Millwall to lose, that person was Liam Gaming 2. Shame on you. I'm just kidding there, it was a reasonable prediction, given Leicester should have on paper beat a team like Millwall. Anyway, Liam said the game would end 2-0 to Leicester. Last week I asked you to say your favourite attacker at the club, and that included the left and right-sided midfielders as well as the strikers. I would say my favourite attacker. Also, I will tell you later on in the podcast a striker that I think is just a little bit overrated. One person said their favourite striker, and that was Liam Gaming 2, and he said he reckons Lee Gregory is the best attacking player at the club because he's very quick and very good, and just to top it off, he's a great goal scorer. So thank you, Liam, for that. Greg certainly is a fan's favourite. I think you'll all agree with that there. Now on to the stats. As I said, I'd break them down by sort of showing you the stats, the goals, the assists, and I've also got a shot on target percentage ratio, which I think you guys will be interested to hear. On to the stats for the first player we're going to be looking at, which is Jamie Philpott. There are 9 players, so do bear with me with this one. Now, as for Jamie Philpott, he's played 5 games, 2 in the league, 3 in the cup. Jamie hasn't scored. In fact, he's only had 1 shot being on target. And, well, Jamie has got an assist. So there's not real any need to go into the shot conversion rate with this one. The next player that we'll look at is Shane Ferguson. The left midfielder has played 36 times, with 28 of those coming in the league. Fergie's assists aren't the best numbers though, as he has 2 assists, 1 in the league and the other in the cup. Ferguson has scored 3 goals, 1 in the league. He's also got 2 in the cup with that one. Now, as for his shot conversion rate for the shots on target, Ferguson has a 60% ratio, which isn't too bad, but then again, he hasn't had too many shots. We'll take a look at Aidan O'Brien next. The midfielder who can actually play as a striker has been involved in 38 matches for the Lions, with 28 of those coming in the league. As for goals and assists, he has 12 goals and 2 assists. Aidan's conversion rate for the shots on target is 57%. Top goal scorer of this season, Steve Morrison, is the next player that we're going to look at. He's played 34 times. 26 of those have come in the league, and during those games, Morrison has scored 15 goals and got 5 assists. Morrison's shot on target conversion rate is quite appalling though, if I'm going to be honest, as he only has 38%. He quite clearly isn't putting them away when he's getting them on target. What about Harry Smith? He was obviously covered in the transfers question that I did last week, so the stats are basically the same. Now, Harry's played 9, obviously getting an actual other appearance since that time. He scored 6 goals and got 1 assist, but how has the tall striker's shot on target conversion rate fared so far? Well, he's got a shot conversion rate on target of 37.5%, which is just under Steve Morrison, so it does make Morrison's not look so great. Jed Wallace is the next player that we're going to have a look at, and he hasn't scored or assisted for the Lions in the 6 times that he's played for us. So as for his shots on target conversion rate, well, it's non-existent at a 0% rate. Key player Lee Gregory has played 30 matches, with 24 of those being in the league. Greggs has scored 11 goals, all of which have been in the league, and he's also got 6 assists, which is currently the top joint assister with Fred. As for Lee's shot on target conversion rate, it's at 44%, which is the 3rd best, but 2nd best if you take into account the number of goals he's actually scored. David Worrell is the next player that we're going to be having a look at, and he's appeared 32 times for the Lions, with 26 of those coming in League One. As for the goals that Worrell scored, he's got 1 in the league and 1 in the cup, as covered last week. And when we look statistically at new signings, it's kind of all going to be similar with that here. And he's also got 5 assists, but none of those have come in the league. David's conversion rate for the shots on target have been 29%. The final attacker is Fred Odinyema. He's scored 6 goals and got 6 assists for the Lions. During that time, he's played 40 different occasions, with 30 of those being in the league. And just to put that into perspective, the amount of appearances he's made, he's actually only got 1 less than Millwall captain Tony Craig. That is a lot of games for Fred to be playing. As for Fred's conversion rate for shots on target, it is 37.5%, which is just worse than Steve Morrison. So kind of putting it into comparison here, you see Morrison isn't doing as great as what people think he is. I would say that for my favourite attacker, I'm going to say that it's Shane Ferguson. He does score an assist sometimes, but it's not so much that reason why I like him, as he's also great defensively. Now, you could say, yes, he can play left back, but obviously some attackers can't defend. Even though they try, some of them aren't the best at it, and well, that's what I like about Ferguson. He can go forward and he can defend when he's needed to, so it's always good to see that there. For this week's first question that I'm going to be giving you is actually been one that I've said in one of my videos already this week, and it is, do you think Millwall are currently the most feared team in the FA Cup? Say why if you agree in the comments section, and obviously say why you don't think and who you think is if you disagree with that. Just let me know. It'd be pretty interesting to see if you think we are or someone else. Is it someone bigger? Is it someone smaller? Let me know. We'll cover that next week. Onto your comments for this week, and we're going to start with Liam Gaming 2's questions for the first time I think I've ever done it. And, well, the first question he asked is, do you think Harry Smith will go? And with this one, I highly doubt it. It's just due to the fact he's getting more game time than he probably imagined he was going to be getting in his first season. Plus, eventually, Morrison will not be at the club. And notice how I said eventually, because he's going to be here for quite a while. Morrison's still scoring goals. He's the top goal scorer at the moment. I don't understand, but that's another story. Anyway, Smith will get more chances once Morrison leaves, and obviously Smith will get more chances, as that's the way Neil Harris likes to have his team running. He likes to give younger players an opportunity, and Smith is a younger player, so I'd say stay with the club and see how it goes. That's my opinion. That's probably the way he's going to go about it. It just makes reasonable sense to do so. He also asked, do you think we will go up? And this question is one I really struggle to commit an answer to. And it's just because, you know, Millwall, we have spells where we're strong and we have spells where we struggle quite clearly. You've seen that a few times this season. And well, at the moment we are doing well. So what I will say, I'm not going to commit an answer, but I will say if we stay unbeaten for quite a bit longer during a spell where we win a lot of games, then chances are it's not going to be that hard for us to go up because we are doing really well and one of the best teams at the moment in terms of the country in our terms of stats that we're going on. So if we continue it, then why not? I imagine we would go up. I feel the next question, which is two that I've combined together, is something that I'm asked a lot, but I'm going to go ahead and answer it anyway. And he said, do you think Wallace and Cooper will stay? And this question is so hard to answer because I'm not the player. I don't know how they feel, but I can give you a bit of information that I have, and that would be that Jed would more likely like to stay, but Cooper, I just don't know because fans do love him, and I don't think he got that at Reading as much as he is at Millwall. So I think Jed will stay, and he's more likely to stay every day that Fred doesn't sign that contract because we're going to need someone to play on that side to compete with David Worrell. And well, he'd obviously be the perfect replacement there. This next question is one that I think is going to be quite easy to answer, and that is, do you think Lee Gregory will go? And this is such an easy one for me to answer because I don't think he will, due to the fact that if he wanted to have gone, he would have left already. He has made his jump to the Football League with Millwall, and I think due to his age, he's more likely not to leave us. And I mean, if we get promoted, it's going to be even harder, really. I'm going to be honest. It's going to be much harder for Gregory to leave because we've put him in such a great position. We were the ones that paid the gamble on him to get him into the Football League. Why would he leave? And if he wanted to, as I said, he could have gone already. So it just doesn't make sense for him to do so. Now, as for the other player, he asked, do you think he'll leave? Which is Fred Odinyema. This one isn't so easy to answer because I can't give you a yes or no answer because to me, just Fred's story doesn't make sense, as he's played more times than most outfield players, and he has so many friends at Millwall at such a young age, it would make sense to stay at Millwall for another 2 years, but I just don't know what's happening. The thing is, with his agent, he seems to like to move his clients from smaller clubs to big clubs. If I can remember rightly, he's the same agent that Ademola Lookman has, so that just paints a little bit of a picture there. So it is more possible that Fred could leave, but I just want to throw it out there for you guys. Do you think he'll leave or not? As I think your opinions actually matter more than mine, as this is a podcast where I present your opinions, but I also have mine as well. I like to bond them together, so let me know what you reckon. Do you want Fred to stay? That's also another one. Do you actually want Fred to stay with us? Because I know some people do, some people don't, so let me know in the comment section down below. Jadams was the next person to leave his comments in the comments section, and he said, I can't believe we've kept 6 clean sheets out of 7. Also, I'm annoyed that people only show up to the big games. It's clear that the team plays better with bigger crowds. I go to every game home and away, and I'm about an hour and 30 minutes from the Den, and I have seen some terrible games. However, I would hate not to have gone to that game. We need to sign Cooper as he's a great defender and can create competition in the defence, which could bring the best out of the players. Also, since we've signed him, we've kept 6 clean sheets in 7 games, so the stats don't lie. He also said great video and meh. I also share a similar view with Adams on this one. Bigger crowds at bigger games are sort of the way that Millwall seem to go, which I don't understand. Well, I do understand that. You want to go to the bigger games, but what I don't understand is why fans like to turn up to just the big games. Now, I can understand if financially you can't actually afford to go to games, or you just can't get the time to go to the games, but it's not like you can't. Some fans just don't turn up to games. The club and team would be so much better off if you decided to go to more games. Financially, we'd have more money, we'd be able to get better players, be able to develop more players through the academy, be able to get more things going in our favour than what we have at the moment. I just think it makes more sense, but obviously some people just don't want to go to games, and sometimes some people just want to cause trouble, which I completely hate. I just can't believe that people go to games to cause trouble, and there can't be people that say they don't, because some people do, and I've seen it happen quite a few times. The Veggie YouTube is the next person to ask me a question, and this one's a really good question. I was really surprised when I saw it because these are really hard one for me, and it is, if Neil Harris wasn't at Millwall, what manager would you like to have? And he ended with Moo. Now this, as I said, is a really tough question, as I really like Neil Harris, and even when I said that maybe he might have to go, it hurt me so much to say that, and I would hate it any other way at Millwall, even if we did mess up a little bit, because you know what, he's a manager, he's built the team, it would be an awful shame for him to go. But if I had to commit to actually saying a manager I want at Millwall, then I would go with Gary Rowett. I know this is unrealistic, let's be honest, but I like him as a manager, and my head literally still hurts due to him being sacked for no reason at all from Birmingham City. The board pulled an absolute clanger sacking him. I don't understand why you would sack him and bring in Gianfranco Zola. Obviously they thought it'd pay off, but Zola has been terrible, and well, it just goes to show if something isn't broken, don't fix it. And here's just a little bit of stats for you. Rowett had a win rate of 39.6%, and in the last 20 years, judging by the win rates, he's the third best they've had in that time frame. A real big mistake Birmingham made there. I understand the fans didn't want him to go either, so I just don't understand it. But either way, I'd love to get him down Millwall at one point if Harris had to part company with us at one point. Alfie's Wet Gaming said, Moo, come on you Lions. Alfie Ross was the final person to leave his comment, and he said, I don't go to many games because I live with my mum in Lincoln. Now, that's just to clear it up, giving you a bit of context here. He said that he went to a Millwall match, and obviously I said I don't think he goes to many Millwall matches, so that's just letting you know a little bit of idea about Alfie there, who comments quite a few times in this podcast. If we take a look at this week's Loan Watch, we see that Greg Wild started a game for Northampton Town. I'm not joking. As they took on Southend United, one of the teams that are battling for the playoffs, as are Millwall. And well, Wild was subbed off in the 62nd minute. He didn't score or get an assist, despite all goals being scored in the 2-2 draw when he was on the pitch. Now, if we drop down a league, we see that David Ford's Pompey side drew 1-1 after a late equaliser from Connor Chaplin, which saved Portsmouth not getting any points to actually getting a point, as Ford did concede. Now, they are 5th and are 6 points off Carlisle United, though Portsmouth do have a game in hand. As for Sid Nelson's side, they lost 3-2 to Cambridge United. That was Newport, obviously, and this game was a thrilling match of football. Rose got sent off in the 90th minute for Newport County, but the action wasn't over there, as 3 minutes later, Roberts scored for Cambridge United, and well, that won them the game, though Sid Nelson wasn't involved in this match. Dropping down into the conference, we get to Braintree Town, where Chris Twaddock didn't feature as he was away on international duty with Canada, but Kyron Farrell did, and he played 75 minutes before being subbed off, but Braintree lost 2-0 to Macclesfield Town. Alfie Pavey's loan to Hampton and Richmond Borough FC was extended for another 28 days, as he played for a half before being subbed off as they lost 2-1 to East Thurrock United. As for Millwall's matches, Millwall won both of them. We'll start with Port Vale, where the Lions won 2-0, with Aidan O'Brien and Jake Cooper getting the goals. As for what happened in the game against Port Vale, well, Aidan O'Brien missed 2 key chances before he put the Lions ahead with a slotted ball, which obviously gave us a real good lead, and it was a bizarre goal, but he converted it nevertheless. And well, Port Vale didn't really challenge Millwall, and they also gave away a penalty, but somehow Steve Morrison missed a penalty. He doesn't score very many penalties, I've noticed. And well, from that move, it actually went out from a corner as the keeper made an outstanding save, and Cooper headed the ball into the back of the net, and that would be the way the game finished, with Millwall winning 2-0. But Millwall did have to play Premier League champions Leicester City, and they somehow, I still don't know how we won it. We won it 1-0 to progress to the quarter-finals, and this game was really hard for Millwall from start to finish, as Shinji Okazaki was a player that really troubled Millwall, as he had a couple of chances. He didn't take them as well as he wanted, and Archer was in inspired form for this match. Cooper did get a yellow card for kicking the goalkeeper, and well, not long into the second half, he did get sent off, and that really threw Millwall under a bus. but somehow we managed to hold it all together, do really well defensively, and then score as Shaun Cummings would go and give Millwall the lead with a cool finish after receiving the ball on a through ball from the substitute Lee Gregory. And my word, if you was at the game, you would hear how the stadium just erupted with noise. I'm sure if you haven't, then go and look at the highlights. I'm sure you can hear it. It was fantastic. One of the most fantastic games I've ever been to. It was such a joy to watch, and really, once we had a player sent off, I thought that was us done for, but somehow it wasn't. On to the player of the week, and this week it's pretty easy for me as Fred has been, in my opinion, the best player in the past 2 games, and really it's because he has done really well up front and taken his chances that Neil Harris has given him in the absence of Lee Gregory. And well, Gregory and Morrison should really be worried because Fred's becoming very, very close to knocking on that door and getting more and more opportunities and taking them out of the team, and I think he should be given more chances as he played really well against Port Vale, obviously getting an assist, and he also done fantastically against Leicester City. And well, I just think that Fred is getting better and better as the season goes on. Obviously, we need to give him that contract. It's becoming an absolute joke how long it's taking to get this one under the line. I don't know what's happening 100%, but we need to prioritise this. Fred has become one of our key players this season, and he's a very young individual. What about the ups and downs for this week? Well, we're going to start with League 2 this time, and how are the top 3 faring out compared to last week? Well, since last week, all the teams remain in the same position, and Doncaster obviously then are still top after they drew 1-1 with fellow promotion battlers Luton Town, though they were helped by Plymouth also drawing, but Plymouth have a game in hand to go equal with the table toppers Doncaster Rovers, and as I said, Plymouth slipped up as they only took a point when they visited Hartlepool in the league. Third place Carlisle United have benefited from the draws, but Doncaster and Plymouth, with both sides only picking up 1 point in the past 2 games, where Carlisle have picked up a full 6 points and are now only 6 points off of first place Doncaster. In fact, they're the best team out of the top 3, as Carlisle have got wins against Doncaster, who are obviously top, and then Wycombe, who are 9th, which Wycombe were a lot higher a couple of weeks ago. What about the Championship relegation zone? Well, that remains the same also, as Wigan Athletic remain 22nd as they drew 0-0 with Preston North End. And while they have been helped by Bristol City's loss 2-1 to Leeds United, meaning they're now only 2 points off of getting out the drop zone, but Bristol City do have a game in hand to help them stop the relegation fight that they're in, or at least make their gap bigger between them and Wigan. As for 23rd Blackburn Rovers, they have a game in hand also, as they lost 2-1 to Manchester United in the FA Cup, which was a pretty good game for them. But as they have this game in hand, they have an advantage, as their next game is coming up against Burton Albion, who are only 20th in the league and only have 5 points ahead of Blackburn. And a win here would really help Blackburn's survival campaign, as they would be on 32 points and equal with Bristol City. So Blackburn really have a chance to turn their fortunes around here. And then finally, the team that sit 24th is obviously Rotherham. They've been at the bottom of the table for such a long time now, and they've gone a whole 7 games without a win, last losing against Cardiff City 5-0. It's not looking great for them. And now, having played 33 times, which is more than any of the other sides around them, it's unlikely they're going to stay up, as they need 15 points, which is 5 wins, and they haven't got 5 wins all season. So unless form really picks up, it's going to be very unlikely that Rotherham are going to be kicking a football in the Championship next season. Last week, I asked a stupid question, which was, what would be your starting 11 now that you've had half a season or more to see who fits into the squad? I don't know why I asked it, really. It's a stupid question. You were basically going to say the starting 11 that's currently out there playing for Millwall, because we're on such a good run. Now, as for Joe's team, which was Joe Holloway and Alfie's Wet Gaming that commented, this is what Joe said. So Archer in goal, the defence would then be Craig at left back, 2 centre-backs Cooper and Webster, right back as Cummings, left midfielders Aidan O'Brien, centre midfielders Williams and Thompson, right mid Wallace, and 2 strikers Gregory and Morrison. So interesting that he didn't put in Fred in that squad, but he did put O'Brien in there, so that's a real difference to what some people's views may be on that one. He also left his bench as King, Martin, Smith, Butcher and Ferguson. As for Alfie's team, he said the 11 would be Archer, Craig, Webster, Cooper, Cummings, Ferguson, Thompson, Williams, Fred, Morrison and Gregory. So slightly different there. He's decided that he will include Fred and also Ferguson. So he's taken Aidan O'Brien out of the team. Pretty interesting with that selection there. So it is obviously slightly different, which is what you like to see. This week's second question is, who is the most overrated player at Millwall? And well, this comes after I said I'd name my most overrated attacking player, and I'm finally getting to it here, as I feel that Lee Gregory is overrated. Yes, some of you might see that as a surprise. He does score goals, but I just think he can get much more, and that's not me being just angry at him straight up. If you look at his chances, and I mean really look, I have to analyse Millwall's chances. I see the amount of simple chances he gets to score, and he doesn't convert them. So I really do want to know you naming your most overrated Millwall player and why you feel they're overrated. I know a couple of players that could be mentioned, so maybe you might surprise me, but who knows? Let me know in the comments section and we'll cover it next week. Now it's time for the final section of the podcast. Yes, that's right, it's the Millwall news. And this week we have 5 stories ranging from the FA Cup draw to Aidan O'Brien talking about Millwall being feared. The first story that I'll be covering is that Millwall have been drawn against Tottenham Hotspur in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup at White Hart Lane. Wow, just wow for this tie already. It's such a big game for Millwall. They're going to be playing one of the best teams in the Premier League. In my opinion, they are the best team really. And well, this tie will be played in the weekend of the 11th of March. And this tie is great news for the team, having had their hard work pay off to play one of the best teams in the Premier League. Not to mention, Archer will be returning to his former side, and Harry Kane will face off against the Lions as he played on loan for us in the 2011-2012 season. The second story came after the game against Port Vale, as Neil Harris announced that none of his players were talking about the FA Cup tie that was coming up against the Premier League champions Leicester City. And just as a side note with this story, it shows the professionalism within the Millwall squad to show that they're taking each game as it comes along. Neil Harris is where the third story comes from as well, as he said the team played the only way you would dream of them playing against Leicester City, as they defended expertly, and even when they were up against it, obviously with Cooper getting sent off, and during that time they were even able to create chances and then somehow eventually win the game. Shaun Cummings is where the next story comes from, as Cummings said there is no time to celebrate the win over Leicester, as he's calm and the rest of the team need to be calm because promotion is the objective for Millwall, so they have to keep going to achieve that goal. And as for the final story, I said it would be coming from Aidan O'Brien, and he said that other teams that play Millwall will be scared, especially now more than ever, as they've only conceded 1 goal in 8 games, and they still manages to score in those games as well, so they have the right balance as a team at the moment. He also stressed that draws are bad for Millwall, as they want to go and win as many as possible and they want to get that promotion spot, so the winning is more important than getting the point. So that is all we got time for today. Do feel free to put your questions and opinions in the comment section down below, and obviously I'll be covering next week along with your score predictions, hopefully if you leave them down there, for Chesterfield and Oldham Athletic. 2 pretty interesting games. I think they're both down the lower half of the table, but if you tell me that, I'll be highlighting the good and bad points of those games as well as your predictions, as I always do. But obviously, until the next one, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week for the next Talk the Wall. But until then, goodbye.